We all know Nathalie Sanker kicked the bucket in the last episode of the 5th season of Miraculous Ladybug. But after a few minutes, she came back to life thanks to Gabriel. But did you know she had some really awful moments before hanging up her boots? This goes beyond just being a question. It's a totally genuine statement. Today, we're gonna talk about the most depressing moments our second mother-in-law experienced before heading to the other dimension with Mom Coco for a few minutes. I'll give you a little spoiler of what you'll see on this adventure. Gabriel is to blame for Nathalie ending up in the other dimension. Tell me in the comments who this character is. I'll reveal the answers in an upcoming video. Let's dive right into this adventure and take a look at the first episodes of the series. In those chapters, we get to know a Nathalie who was much more than just Gabriel Agrest's assistant and the person to take care of Adrian. She was in charge of checking schedules and keeping the Agrest family mansion in order. She also cared about Adrian's education and health. She's responsible for our boy starting to go to school. She talked to Mr. Agrest to be more flexible and let his son explore new things. And as an interesting fact, my second mother-in-law is so essential to the Miraculous universe that in the recent Ladybug movie, there's a Nathalie Sanker with the same role we already know. Supposedly, the movie story is not closely related to the series, but the events narrated tell us otherwise. In her private life, Nathalie lived on the edge of danger, as she was an accomplice to the world's most dangerous villain. Working for Gabriel, the famous billionaire designer, she could commit several crimes without being punished. She was one of those characters who lived hidden from the eyes of others, and no one suspected that she was behind several problems that Paris had to face. Now, let's talk about this character's love life. At first glance, many of us can relate to her in this regard, because her crush didn't pay attention to her either. Her crush was Gabriel Agrest, and compared to the vast majority of us, he did pay attention to her. In one episode of the 5th season, Nathalie makes a reference that for a long time she was deeply in love with Gabriel, but she hid her feelings out of respect for Emily. This lets us understand that her impossible love became possible. What led to this development happened in previous seasons. Nathalie and Gabriel started spending more time together, creating memorable moments that led them to have a secret romantic relationship hidden from Adrian. Here we can say that our love soldier won the battle and stepped out of the friend zone, and some of us started believing in love again. If you give the video a like and comment the heart emoji, your crush will send you a message. However, the actual reality was different because she had never won the battle. Unfortunately, Mr. Agrest didn't love her the same way she loved him, and every time Adrian hinted that they had a romantic relationship, Gabriel would get angry and vehemently deny it, saying that no one could replace Emily. Later in the video, we're gonna dive deeper into this topic, because there's a lot more to talk about on this matter, and one of them is that this villain manipulated Nathalie. Since he denied the romantic relationship he had with Mrs. Sanker, it gives the impression that he felt ashamed for his son or people to know he was in a romantic involvement with his assistant. You might say, "You're taking things out of context, just like you used to do with your ex's messages." I ain't saying anything about my ex because I still haven't gotten over it and I still miss him. As for the other thing, I'd like to say, yeah, I'm deliberately taking everything out of context, but I'm not really doing it. If you carefully analyze this matter, you'll realize that I am absolutely right. This old dude is crazy and committed several crimes we never thought he would be capable of. In the pinned comment, I'll leave you a video where we talk about the most horrible crimes he committed before going to the other dimension. Now that we've talked a bit about the love troubles this character had in her life, let's dive into another dilemma that arose when she used the broken peacock Miraculous. It is the very thing that caused her various health problems and was one of the reasons she kicked the bucket. This factor drastically deteriorated her health, starting with mild coughing fits that later got out of control. She also felt tremendous weakness and extreme fatigue that no longer allowed her to live a normal life. During this time, she kept ruining her health and life by continuing to battle Ladybug and Noir. In each battle, she gained more powers, which ended up seriously harming her health. Sadly, as the episodes progressed, things got worse for Nathalie, bringing her to a point where she couldn't walk or even support her own weight with her legs. She spent her days bedridden. I could go on and on, mentioning all the discomforts that Adrian's stepmother suffered, but in a previous video, we explored this topic and talked more in detail about each of her problems. The link to that video will also be pinned in the comments for you to check out. Let's put aside what we've talked about in this video so far and focus on the romance Nathalie and Gabriel had. This little romance took a 360-degree turn when both characters discovered that the only effective cure for her was getting Bug and Noir's Miraculous. Since the villain couldn't defeat either of the heroes, this caused problems between our father-in-law and Nathalie, leading to a breakup in their love relationship. In essence, Mrs. Sankara had partially realized what we all knew already. Gabriel never loved her.
Oh, no.
This brings us to a point that nobody on the internet talks about nowadays. Gabriel Agreste is to blame for Nathalie kicking the bucket at this point in the story. To better understand this act, let me give a bit more context. In the final episodes of the season, this character was in her last moments, feeling too sick and weak. With the little strength she had left, she made her way to where Emily was inside the capsule. We don't know what Nathalie did to the capsule, but whatever it was, it triggered an emergency alarm, forcing Gabriel to come down quickly. In that place, the villain committed a horrible crime. Both characters confronted each other face to face. She pointed the crossbow at her enemy, and after an exchange of words between them, Gabriel managed to defeat her. He hit her without remorse. That blow gave her life a definitive turn. Gabriel, in his super guise, delivered it with enormous force, reducing her remaining life to a few minutes. This may sound drastic, but it's true. Gabriel intentionally put an end to Nathalie. If this crazy old man hadn't attacked her, she would have lived a few more days. And since the villain was going to end up defeating Ladybug and fulfilling his wish, bringing his wife back and healing Nathalie, she wouldn't have suffered the horrible pain of death. So, a stinky old man is responsible for Nathalie going to visit San Pedro. With the way this man acted, he confirms what the Miraculous fandom suspected. Gabriel never, ever loved or felt nice things for her. And if he did feel any nice feelings, they were very faint, or just feelings of friendship. This leaves the idea that this stinky old man took advantage of the love this woman felt for him and manipulated her to put her life at risk to get the Miraculous and bring back the true love of his life. Guys, so this little love tale leaves us with the moral lesson that we should be very careful about who we fall in love with, so that they don't break our hearts later on. That's why I've fallen in love with BTS, because I know that in this world or any alternate universe, they would betray me. I love you, BTS! It's important to mention that it's not the first time Gabriel sends a character to the beyond with Mama Coco. In Season 4, something very similar happened. For being the 100th episode of the series, they premiered a chapter with the theme, What If? In this episode, we see Shadow Moth defeat Ladybug and Shah. Due to the events that unfold, they subtly hint that Moth, or rather Shadow Noir as he calls himself, ends Marinette's life in a bad way, all at the hands of the villain. I won't keep talking about this matter, because we have a video where we explain it in detail, and I'll leave the link in the pinned comment. Based on what's been mentioned, it's not the first time Mr. Agreste commits this kind of crime. As you've just seen, Mrs. Sankara lived through many horrible moments alongside Gabriel. Anyway, this video has come to an end. You're invited to watch the videos I mentioned during this adventure. The links will be in the pinned comment. Greetings to all who commented on the previous video. My name is Reverie, and we'll be hearing from each other in another video. Bye!